We're going to be replacing the hammers. Now, to do that, we have to take the hammerhead off of the hammer shank. This particular hammer is not worth saving. If there's no point in saving it, we can destroy it, and it makes taking it off a lot easier. We're going to take the pocket knife, and first of all, we're going to cut off this glue collar right here. A lot of glue that's just kind of all piled up, and we'll just cut that off. Make it a little bit easier to be able to get the darn thing off. We would do this even if we were trying to heat it up and take it off carefully. If we're trying to save it, we still need to get that collar off, or nothing good happens. Now, all we have to do is cut it. We're just going to get hold of this thing here. We'll take the pocket knife, we'll put it right about the center, and we're just going to split that puppy. Sometimes they split real easily, sometimes not so much. So there we go. We'll just split that puppy and break it out. Okay. That almost got us where we want it to be. What we're trying to do is expose the top of the shaft. That way, it'll come out a lot easier. Having split it that direction, I think I'm going to go ahead and split it this way also. Remember, I'm not trying to save this. This is garbage. So all I'm trying to do is break it off away from the shaft so I don't have to try to argue with the glue. And we'll just kind of carve it off. And now we got our shank out. It'll still be the right length. Hasn't busted off. That's useless. Toss that. Clean it up a little bit. Clean it up a lot. When cleaning it up with using your pocket knife as a shaver, you don't want to come in at an angle because you can cut into the wood. What you want to do is come in pretty much straight across, and that way you don't wind up taking anything off that you don't want taken off. We're just trying to get off the excess glue. There we go. That hammer shank is ready to go in. We did number it. It's number 19. And we numbered, I want to put the number also on the side. Write it right here, 19. We want to number all of our parts so that when we put them back in, they go in exactly where they were before. It'll line up a lot easier when we put it back together. Now, previously we showed you how to take off a hammer head with just a pocket knife. If there's no point in saving the hammerhead, and if you look at this one, there's no point in saving that. That has had it. So there's really no point in saving this. This is why we're changing these things. And normally I would just go ahead and take the pocket knife and split it right here, and it breaks it away from the shank. But in this case, I wanted to show you how to remove a hammerhead if you want to actually save the thing. This is a hair straightener. This one happens to be by Revlon. Conair makes them also. They run about $15, $18 at your local grocery store. When you buy them, they come with, there's a plastic cap on each side, here and over here. And they come with a screw in the center. That screw in the center is the hinge, and it allows it to go back and forth. And you'll notice it lands flat. Now, the problem with this is that if you use it as is, you wind up getting an angle when you go to heat this thing up. Not much of an angle. You can live with it if you want, but there's a way to make this thing fit a little bit better. You take off the plastic caps, you don't need those, and you remove this screw. Now, what you're going to do is you'll see, and it's a little hard because of the color, but there's a little hole here And there's a little hole here. Okay? What you can do is bring this up to where the center hole, the pivot hole, lines up with one of these top holes. Just like that. Now, you can take a screw and you can put that back in. You put it up here. It makes the hole a little bit bigger, but don't worry about that. That's okay. And it'll screw right through the plastic, and it'll set its own threads as you do this. And just go ahead and take it all the way down. And then it comes out the other side here. Right there. And then go ahead and tighten it up. Now, having done that, having made that little adjustment, there we go. You'll notice that when it's closed, it's at an angle. But when it's open, you can bring this down. Now when we bring it down onto the wood, the hammer, it's a lot flatter. And that way you'll get a much more even heat going through that. The other thing that you'll need to do this is an extractor. This is a hammerhead butt extractor. You can use it on either end, depending on whether or not you want to take the hammer off or take the butt off, okay, to remove it from the shank. You also need one of these. Give it so that you have something for it to work on. You open it up, you'll notice that there is a dip right here, and it's grooved to grab hold of the wood. And what we're going to do is we'll set that right here. Okay? And put it in. See if we can line it up. Just comes up and goes over, and then we can tighten it down. The reason we want to do this is that those grooves right there will grab hold of the shank. All right? And by doing so, it'll give our extractor something to push against rather than pushing directly against the hammer butt. If we were to push directly against the hammer butt, we might accidentally remove the hammer butt. That's not what we want to do. We want to remove the shank. That way, we wind up putting our pressure, the pressure of our shank remover, against this, not against that. The shank remover simply goes in right here. Before we can use it, we need to, first of all, come over here and break off the collar. Clean it off really nice all the way around. Good. I have a little bottle here of white vinegar and an eyedropper. And I want to put that white vinegar right here around the collar. That white vinegar will soak in, and we're going to give it a moment to soak in, to begin to loosen up that old glue that's in there. Okay. Works a little bit better with water. A lot of times people will use water, but the white vinegar works a little bit better. Now we're going to take this, and we'll turn it on low. Let's go ahead and just heat that up a little bit before we put that on. We're going to give this about 30 seconds to a minute. And maybe a little bit more of this. Yeah. You just feel it begin to wobble a little bit. Now we can set this aside, turn it off, so we don't burn the house down. Now we can put our butt extractor on and just apply a little bit of pressure, tighten it up, and it'll apply a little bit of begin to apply some pressure. Try to keep it nice and straight. That's the other trick. Make sure that that shank is nice and straight in there, in those slots. Okay? Now we can go ahead and you can already feel the glue beginning to release it, to get gooey. Tighten it up. And very carefully and very slowly, just tighten that puppy. And as we tighten it, it puts pressure on it, and it will eventually pull it off. There we go. And by tightening it, it just removes that hammerhead. Isn't that neat? There we go. Let's just go all the way with that. Here we go. And the hammerhead comes right off. That way we preserve the hammer for use later. All of the hammers are off. We'll be putting the hammer butts and shanks back into place thusly. And once they're in, they'll be ready to go. And when the hammers come in, we've ordered a full set of hammers. When those hammers come in, we'll just go ahead and we'll line up each hammer. The hammers will be pre-drilled, which saves me a lot of hassle. We'll put the hammer on and we'll line it up to the keys to make sure it hits the keys exactly flush before we actually try to set it with some glue. Then we'll use a little bit of liquid hide glue here by Type Bond, and we'll use that to glue in the new hammers when those arrive. In the meantime, between now and then, we're going to be taking off hammers.